Hi everyone, welcome back to the Ocalan Research channel for a new video dealing with visual cryptography today. Just let me check it's recording okay. Yes, seems fine. Okay. The last video for which I received tons of comments, and it was my record-breaking number of views, so a lot of people are aware now. I highlighted something that may be hidden in one of those images and miniatures from a book named The Rochefoucauld Grail, and it has to deal with visual cryptography. We're gonna have to go through this video together and deep dive into what is visual cryptography and what is this manuscript we're looking at. And we'll see if I am totally crazy and seeing things that don't exist, like some of you, or if there is really a pattern and something to pay attention to in those miniatures. So here we go for a ride, because I prepare for you a couple of more videos on the subject, analyzing the content of some of those images. Fair use on YouTube. I'm doing this for research, and I'll be using some documents that don't have copyright since the date from 1300s and such. I think the copyright is outdated, but I also quote some sites and use some sites. I quote the URLs, but this is all in the framework of this research. I propose you to land our first atterrissage would be in Rennes-le-Château and Rennes-le-Château church. So Rennes-le-Château is famous in France for also a treasure quest involving the Templars and involving the same Grail and everything you can think of that also could be connected with Oak Island. Rennes-le-Château has been studied thoroughly, and the church, like any church, has got stations of the cross, where the Passion and the last days of Jesus are painted, and that you can find in all churches. Rennes-le-Château's ones are reversed. The order is reversed compared to classical, but it's not exceptional. Some other church also got it reversed. So lots of web pages in French. I translated an excerpt of some of them, analyzing the content of those miniatures if you want. And I'll let you read the text so you can pause the YouTube video and peacefully read this. And what happens is what they describe after analyzing this and describing what is visual cryptography. They propose, those authors and researchers and theorists of Rennes-le-Château, this is how they explain what is visual cryptography. At first, the reading of each station appears as a conventional biblical image, and no unprepared observer would see the slightest curiosity. So that's the first stage. Think about our miniatures and the one I proposed in the last videos. At first, it appears like a miniature illustrating the text on the right-hand side. On the second reading, and if we look more closely, the images are complex, and there are two on our miniatures, full of curious details. The search for a code then becomes tortuous and difficult. This reading may show that there is something to look for, but that's it. The degree of reading is a false lead destined to lose the researcher. Too much detail kills the detail, if you want. And that's the second stage. There's so many things that you want to analyze everything, and your brain can't make out what is important or not. The third stage is the right reading one. The one that in any case make it possible to bring additional pieces to the puzzles. Corroborating hints if you want. But to achieve this nirvana, they say, it'll be necessary to deploy a lot of ingenuity, cunning, and especially to ignore the elements of the second reading. I added two more steps myself in blue here. And then comes the time of the interpretation. I found something that is abnormal, or something that is linked to another story I know about, or seem to be linked. To what level is the interpretation and of the analysis of the finding is good? So that's the first variation that I'm totally ready to admit. And I do that, and I did that in my past video. And finally, the next step is falling over the edge. Pareidolia. Pareidolia is a disease where you start seeing things everywhere that don't exist. and particularly in paintings or drawings, and you make it up totally, or you don't make it up. Your brain thinks it's there. It's your brain that went far out. So observing and finding something unusual can be explained to somebody. I'm seeing this. Do you see this? Oh yes, I see this. But the interpretation then can be different from the sensibility, the culture, the history, or whatever. And then on top of that, you might go nuts. So let's make sure we achieve this part 1, 2, 3, and I'll be cautious about the interpretation I give to it. And please stop me in the comments if I ever go to pareidolia. A comment from last video seemed to claim that I'm there already. So let's see. If we're all there, then we're all on the same boat. Okay. So that's for Rennes-le-Château. Let's pay attention to one of them, for instance. This is the station number 8, where you can see Jesus with his cross, and Mary and the child, a child. A child. Is it the child of Mary and Jesus? We don't know. But Rennes-le-Château is full of these. And so the first look, okay, it's biblical. It's the characters of the Passion. It's Jesus carrying his own cross to his crucifixion, etc. The second look, I'm going to zoom a little bit for you. Oh, on the second look, you see details, colors, shapes in the background. What do we see in the background? A tower. And in the tower, you can see little inscriptions, and then the sky and clouds and a tree and etc. And you may get deep into everything, and the guy on the right-hand side, that guy, what is he doing? And you can take hours to analyze and scrutinize everything in the painting. And then at one point in time, you get a flash or an intuition, and you found what's wrong in it. And I don't know if you have already. I'm not acquainted enough with Rennes-le-Château miniatures analysis. I didn't find it myself. I read the blog explaining what was wrong with this, but if you can find it, it's pretty impressive. What they analyze is the problem comes from this part here, where it seems Mary is holding a child, and the child's cloth is a quilt pattern from Scotland. And if you're into Rennes-le-Château, if you're in the Templar move, etc., Scotland make some sense, and it could be also linked with the Scottish rituals of Freemasonry. And that's the interpretation now, step 3. This is wrong. There shouldn't be any Scottish quilt on a picture representing Jesus the day of his death. It's not, doesn't make sense in the picture, in the scene. So it was on purpose that they made that. To carry what message? That's the interpretation bit. And that's where it becomes, arguable and debatable. So I'll try, when I walk with you through the miniatures and the things I found, to make sure we separate what is abnormal and what we see is something that shouldn't be there or that calls for interpretation, and what is the interpretation that could be given. Why do we think, or they think in Rennes-le-Château, this is particularly linked to the Rennes-le-Château history, and there's something coded to be interpreted, is because they found other painting, the same miniature in another church. Do I have the name of the church? Yeah. Saint-Aubin de Lanquet versus Rennes-le-Château. And when you look at, so this is probably the same manufacturer, right? The same molds, probably, coming from the same factory. All this roughly in the 1850. That's about the 1890 probably, those miniatures were built. And you can see probably the same mold, but here the child's clothes is in white and plain cotton or something like that. So that's what they made. They made them think in Rennes-le-Château that this is on purpose in Rennes-le-Château church, and the meanings got to be linked with the Scottish rite or Scotland. Now, bear in mind, if I was into step 5, which is pareidolia, only learn how to pronounce that word. If I was going that far, I could say this is the shape of Oak Island, all right, with Smith Cove here or whatever. But this is going too far. right? This is seeing things that are not there. This is the mind playing tricks to itself. Interesting, and cryptology. And the interpretation is the hard part. So let's move on and let's go back to our Rochefoucauld Grail. We need to have a bit more knowledge about the Rochefoucauld Grail manuscripts, where they come from. Again, you can pause the video, I'll let you read. So it's all about the epic tale of King Arthur's court, the quest for the Holy Grail, and it's one of the first European fiction. Celtic legends of origin, probably, an historical figure in the background. The stories were first populated in northern France in the Angevin court of Henry II and Eleanor d'Aquitaine. Now, those characters, Angevin is near Poitou, which is near the Rochefoucauld castle, and a lot of, La Rochelle harbor is in that region as well. And we know Eleanor of Aquitaine had a step in Great Britain or England and a foot in both countries. It was not countries as such, but she was in all intrigues, of course. So that's the epic tales of King Arthur started in those regions or popularized in those regions. Building on the tradition of the southern troubadours. Oh, that rings a bell. Because the troubadours, as I explained in a past video about the language of the birds, were the one carrying information using the language of the birds to hide messages. So the website, which is nothing less but the BL is the British Library. It's like the National Library explaining the Rochefoucauld, not the Grail, but the cycle of King Arthur. And they say that troubadours, it's interesting just to read it. It's like building on the tradition of the hidden messages and carrying secret messages in songs and using the language of the bird. Is that what the British Library is telling us? Maybe not, but I found it interesting, so I highlighted it. The country, refine, etc. Toward the end of the century, the legends were Christianized, and the Holy Grail became one of the central themes, and the knight evolved into soldiers of Christ. But it seems it was not at the beginning. The British Library has the largest collection of Arthurian manuscripts in England, and check this out. They've got 40 manuscripts out of, they think, 500 that survive worldwide. And a manuscript is itself a 1,000 page, something like that, with each manuscript having miniatures. We know that the Rochefoucauld Grail's got 107. I'll show you another one that's got 116. And a book would have taken a lot of time to manufacture and a lot of money and a lot of cows. Somebody made the comment on my comment, I think a full book, which is 4 manuscript, which is 4 volumes. It's like 200 cows just to have the paper, the vellum. So interesting. So the British Library's got 40 of these. Some of them's got just the text. Some of them's got miniatures. You can see difference in the styles. That's very interesting. Let's carry on what they have to say, the British Library, about this. The most popular French text of the medieval literature is the prose Lancelot Grail, widely copied and circulated in French-speaking Europe from the time that the texts were first composed between 1220 and 1240. The Rochefoucauld Grail itself is from 1315, 1325, I read. So 100 years later, 90 years later. So you would go to the people who would manufacture those books, and again, I'm writing it down. Gutenberg was not born. He was born in 1400. There's no press. There's no printing process. It's all by hand, copied. So writing all those pages would take, 10 years for a manuscript. So you would have to be very rich and fortunate and want your own copy, giving you the right to, input your own images in that copy to the team, the craftsman that would do the pictures. Fascinating from the time, huh? It was not going to Amazon and order a book and get it delivered within 6 hours. You would get yours delivered within 10 years. Another time, another planet. But that's how it was. And printed edition became more accessible at the beginning of the 16th century, no doubt, Gutenberg was born and printing was in progress, which really industrialized the way to edit and print books. The manuscripts contain various combinations of the 5 tales, making the cycle. Considered separately by postmedial for his reference, but seldom found alone. Here they are. The history of the Saint Grail. I'll let you read it all. And that's what we're gonna work on. Those miniatures come from those books and from a special edition of those books, one of the 500, called the Rochefoucauld Grail. And the Rochefoucauld Grail, I need to explain you that, was owned until 2010 by a private library in Amsterdam. That's why we call it the Amsterdam reference, Amsterdam. And in 2010, by an auction at Sotheby's, it was sold for 2.4 million pounds, British pounds, probably $3 million, something like that. I can't find the name of the person. I haven't researched much on it yet. But this used to be owned by a library who made pictures of some of the pages and some of the miniatures that we can find. And the other source of miniature, but I'll get back to this, is from the auction itself. That's the story of that book. And from 18th century, that book, that's the trace I found from 1800, it only went through 2 owners before reaching the Amsterdam library and a third one now. So very interesting, the story of that book. Very interesting. Okay, let's move on. Yeah, so there's 500 copies worldwide. The British libraries got 40. And this is a snapshot of the webpage of the French National Library now. And they have a nice engine, Gallica, where you can find, this is all the books that talk about Saint Grail and the Lancelot and the Quest and what that the same was, those 500 copies. They got 7 pages like this of copies. So the 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15. Probably they got 100 copies. They all been digitalized. You can access every page, and I'll show you in a minute. For instance, I took the oldest one they got here, and that's all the information you can find, which is absolutely amazing, the work they did to each of them, you know, the 100 and so, they went to scanning every page of them, and you got, you know, where it comes from, the date, publication date between 1201 and 1300, and what it contains. It's in French, but maybe there's an English translator on the engine. And I went through this one, which are called the History of Saint Grail, the roman literature, the novel of Merlin, Chronicle of Jerusalem, and 13th century, etc. And the first pages they got available, you see at the bottom here, you can select your pages. Everything, all the pages are available from all those books. They scan bloody everything. And there is an excerpt here that is not from that time. Somebody wrote on top, and here you go with, you see the miniatures and the text, and it's unbelievable the work they did. So there are many copies. And this website, the Lancelot Project Pit, I'll put all the URLs and the description of this video. These guys, it's a project that tried to compare several of them. And they've got the Paris Bibliothèque Nationale, National Library, one of the books that I showed, the 75 I showed you earlier, one of them, more recent than the one I showed probably. Another one here from the same library. They got a London one, another London one from Le Mans, which is a city in France, and Rennes, which is in Brittany. And they've got our Amsterdam copy here. I was so happy to understand that this was the pictures, and that team got access to some of the material before the sale and the auction at Sotheby's, so we can find some. And you can see they look for a description of, for instance here, the passage talking about King Mordred on the rock. And this is what the copies of each, the images of each copy. And so you see some of them don't have anything. This version doesn't even talk, probably a missing section. On this version, yeah, they have a full picture going with. And you see the color, blue and red. And here on this one, which is the one we are interested in, they didn't put any image. So on each copy, you can find differences. I guess it's according to the teams and the years they were manufactured, all of them. So pretty interesting. Let's look at another one. This picture here shows in the Sotheby's picture set before the auction, so we know this one is genuine. That's how I understood that it was the Amsterdam version that was being sold. I got a confirmation by another website. And here you can see particularities in this one that we will find all the way through. The borders here, we can zoom. Yeah, the border is always a square within a square, and sometimes it's got a cross. And the other ones don't have that. That's kind of what I use to recognize them. Let's see another version here. You see the style is very different from the one we're gonna track down for a couple of videos. Very interesting, those manuscripts. And only one was ordered, paid for, awaited for, and probably given instruction by Guy VII's Rochefoucauld, according to Sotheby itself. So that's why that's the one we found the pictures I've shown so far. So the miniatures we're gonna be that I allow myself to work on are the ones that are certified, that are coming from the Amsterdam version, whether from the Sotheby pictures of the images or the Amsterdam one from this website and others. So that leaves us down to not that many. These are the ones, and you can recognize this one I used, which is the first one that caught my attention. No, sorry, it wasn't. It was this one. The first one that caught my attention. Why? Because it was the story of an oak tree, of something that looked like Oak Island, an oak tree, a hole under an oak tree, and all that, you know, resonated. I was already at the interpretation, or the discovery. I was on step 2, let's say. And these are the ones we're going to be, that I allow myself to analyze, investigate, because they all come from the same copy ordered by Duc Guy La Rochefoucauld. So the one on the left were taken during the Sotheby auction. The one on the right come from the website I just come from, and they were taken before the sale, where they were still owned by the Amsterdam library. So we get a couple more to study. And we will go into them because I found things in most of them. So it's going to be a very interesting set of upcoming videos. Again, some more from this Amsterdam library. And you can see what I said. The ornaments here are either a square or they are a cross, but it's always the same color code, the same style. It's the same team, of course, because it's the same book. And let's remember what the Lanslow Project Pit showed us. You can go on their webpage. They estimate that the crew, the team that did the painting is no more than 3 people, with a master drawer and 3 other people. They got to that conclusion by analyzing several books of them. And again, it's a multi-year project, you can imagine. 107. What else do we have? 107 miniatures in the Rochefoucauld Grail. And question is, same artists, miniature from the same artist could find in other books, the same team. Maybe they did another book later. Here we got a manuscript with 116 images and not 107, another one. The French text written in fine 14th century, so 14th century, it's 13 to 1399, so it would corroborate it's the same team. Maybe later, I guess the quality of the picture is a bit better. Maybe earlier, we don't know. Again, they did the picture of another book, and the here in the describe the site, which is again a British Library site. Think it's coming from Saint-Omer-hors-Tournai, which is the Flandre region of Europe, between Belgium and France, and that's exactly where the Duc Guy de la Rochefoucauld is thought to have ordered his copy from. So there seemed to be a team there of pairing up maybe with copyist. That was the name at the time of a printer, a copyist, because he would do hand copies. So a team of copyists associated with a team of image makers like this, and specializing in either Grail or other religious book, and they are in that region. Again, more search to do. And here again on the 3 of them. So I don't think they've are hiding anything in them. I analyzed them, I tried to. I don't think they are the same storytelling as the one we have in La Rochefoucauld, but interesting, it's the same team. So we're going to conclude this first video, which was an introduction to cryptology, graphic cryptology. And if you understand the 5 steps, not try to go to the 5th one, I admit there I didn't find anything. I'm going to propose you one. And this is what we're going to do. This is one of the pictures from the Bibliotheca Philosophica Hermetica, which is the Amsterdam library. So it's part of the ones supposedly requested by Rochefoucauld. Now think about what we just talked about. We talked that these books have the troubadour imprint in them. They use coded message, maybe. And one of them is the language of the bird. How surprised would you be to find in that picture a bird, and a pretty big one? A pretty big one, about, I'm going to give you a hint, 1/4 of the size of this image in length. It's in there hidden. I found it the other day. And we will use this picture again in another video because it's got a lot of things to tell. But just to let you work and impregnate this, can you do the 3 steps? There's a lot of people on this picture. And try to find the big bird. I'll wait for your comments, and whenever you find the big bird and describe where it is and how it's shaped and what the colors, I will publish the next video, which is a full analysis of one of those paintings and what I found in it. And we'll go on and on, video after video. Take it like a little game and see if you can follow the mind game that I'm proposing you. Have fun, enjoy it, and waiting for your comments. Take good care. Bye-bye.